whiskey. I can't seem to understand how you do this to me. You've been running in circles inside my head. Wasn't looking for love, but baby, I found you instead.
and welcome back to the BGCS show. My name is Dwarf, and joining me today is Fatty Kyle. How are you doing today, lad? I can't hear you on Discord if you're talking, by the way.
Yeah, my bad. Hello, everybody. Sorry about that. I am doing very well, thank you. How is yourself, Dwarf?
I'm good. I'm kind of excited for this BGCS show, to be honest, because we've changed a few things up. We're sort of shifting our sort of overlay, our formatting for the show, as you can see on the left there. We've got a few things to go through, and I'm excited to welcome in this change. What about you, Carl?
Yeah, it's exciting times. The production's hopefully going to step up, get a bit better. Just hopefully people's schedules can align and we can all come together and create some beautiful content for you all to enjoy. But yeah, going forward, it should be good. Um, Not much is going to change, but a lot's going to change, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense to me. Without any further ado, may as well move on to our first topic, and that will be looking at the game week 4 results. And to start us off, Kyle, we've got the Ballbusters.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, with these ones, the way it was done, sort of last minute, it's not put off as conferences, so all the
Mm.
games are just a mismatch. We can manually go through and do the the ball
Well, the top
busters.
4 are the Ballbusters, right? And the bottom 4 are the Wall Thrusters.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
So it is. Yeah. Well, yeah, we can do it that way then. I didn't notice that at the time. I just seen that they were all because I wanted to have it separated into the two, but it was a bit too much work for my little brain to comprehend. But yeah, we can go on the ball busters first. We have Team Miracle was up against Resurrection, which was I thought was going to be a lot closer of a game. Both teams that were doing fairly well in the Ballbuster Conference. And it was also a game that was kind of a weird one because JW was moving to Team Miracle, and I think that was kind of known in this game. So maybe that's no surprise that it was a 3-0 win to Miracle. JW's heart was maybe in a different place at that point. But yeah, Team Miracle got the 3-0 win, which is surprising and not surprising. I'm one of the only casters that really rated Team Miracle before the season started. I have faith in Charlie Gravesy and Hexos, but then they picked up Kanasig, who's been a real,
Mm.
real strong pickup for them. Um, and yeah, they're only going to improve and get better with the addition of JW. And for Resurrection, they lost a good player, but from things we'll speak about later, they've picked up someone who is an adequate replacement, I would say. So yeah, I think they'll bounce back strong next week, and that's what they'll be looking to do.
Yeah, I'd have to agree, to be honest. Moving on to the next one, of course, I don't want to dwell on a 3-0 as much as it may have been a surprise. Going on to what definitely was a surprise was Fearless 5 taking Corinthians 3-2, which in my opinion is just craziness. Corinthians showing an insane amount of consistency across all of their games. I think this team has been summarized as a winning games they shouldn't and losing games they shouldn't. Has been their sort of way of playing in this season. I think the only expected result was myself beating them, and even then, that was just as close as this match. Fearless 5, I think at the time, knowing that they were going to make changes as well, makes it an even more unlikely win. So what went on with Corinthians there, I don't know. But, I mean, they did make some changes. We'll talk about that later again. And then I think that's pretty much summed up for me. If we move on to the next one.
Yep, you got it there. And on to the next one, we'll go for Lotus versus Complex, because we want to save the best game, in my opinion. Not biased at all.
Yeah, not biased
until
at all.
last of the Ballbuster conference. But yeah, Team Lotus versus Complex. You know, I think that was a key game for both teams. You know, a win put them right in contention for top 4, and a loss, you know, doesn't put them out, but it's a hard hill to climb to get into that top 4 spot. But yeah, Lotus managed to get the job done, and you know, it's not a surprising result to me. I'm a big, you know, fan of Eclipse, and when Eclipse plays well, Lotus play well, and I think that's really all there is for that on that 3-0 there.
One thing to add about that actually is that all of the games were 1-goal games. And I don't think Eclipse was playing up to his standard. But even so, they looked in control for that series, which is why they got the 3-0. Talking about control, we've got Solaris taking a 3-0 against Team Dynasty. Was this expected? Probably. I think both teams making changes, of course, shaking things up in the Wolfrusters conference. And yeah, I mean, Solaris, they look good. I wouldn't say there's anything special going on there, but they just look good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if the changes do bring something special.
Yeah, well, that's, I think the changes were needed, and yeah, we'll see about that next week. That's the only game I think that I haven't seen anything of, so I've really got nothing to add. But that'll move us on to another 3-0, which was just a forfeit 3-0. They did play one game, because this is the only game I casted last week, the only time I had to cast, and unfortunately Flame they had all players in the lobby, but one of them just didn't join. So we thought we were fair and gave them a full game, and was like, if the player hasn't joined before the end of that game, then it's going to be a forfeit 3-0. And unfortunately, I heard that he went away and played with his dog. Not sure how true
Valid.
that is.
Valid.
But yeah, a dog, yeah, that's a hard temptation to resist.
Yeah, I can't knock that one bit. Dogs over Rocket League any day. Moving swiftly on to the next game, and another really, really interesting match, to be honest. Interstellar winning against Clinical Masterminds, our reigning champions. Is that to be continued? I don't know. I think Clinical Masterminds didn't have the best of games, especially Trixer. I don't think he performed anywhere near the level that he wanted to. Overcommits, double commits everywhere. Jonah having to be relied upon too much. Even then, he did go for quite a few boost grabs that he maybe shouldn't have. Classic Jonah.
That's the Jonah way.
Yeah, I think, you know, they got caught off guard with how consistent Interstellar were with their rotations, and let it get on top of them. They didn't cut it out soon enough, and they didn't work well as a team getting those passing plays in like they previously have. And I'll just say for this next one, it was another forfeit for Broker, and they just couldn't get any players in, couldn't get any FA players in, so Officer took the 3-0 victory. go back to the best game of the week, of course.
Not biased at all. Both of us.
Yes. Oh, Carl, you take this one.
Yeah, I was just about to say, yeah, it was, Unseen versus Team was, I wouldn't say it was the best quality from both sides. I think both sides could have played a lot better, but it did make for some incredibly tense moments. I'm pretty sure we had quite a lengthy overtime, didn't we? It's been a long
It
time
was
now.
for 4 or 5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
yeah, there was a lengthy overtime, and I'll take it from the first game. I came out the blocks on a personal level. I was playing really well that first game, and I think that helped us get the win in that first game. But then I kind of drifted off. We played our usual style. I think we had a lot of the pressure, and the team played more a counter attack style, and yeah, it was an intense affair, and it could have went either way on any other day. That could have been a 3-2 to team, but fortunately, the Unseen managed to get the luck of the dice throw on that last game, and yeah, I think team will bounce back. I think they'll bounce back strong. They're a good team, and yeah, team should be scared. Have you got anything you want to add?
Not really. I mean, I could go in really in depth into playstyles, but I won't. I'll spare you all the the drivel that comes out of my mouth when I come to talk about my own team. But yeah, I'll have to agree with that, and that sums it up for us for the results of the previous week. Of course, this also moves us sort of in a nice little segue to the week that we just had off, or for quite a few teams that you didn't have off, making transfers. And if we just take a look at the first one, Kyle, what interests you about these?
Well, I think the most interesting part on that page is, the two Fearless Five duo, Weekend and Rex, jumping ship and heading on over to CK Esports. I think that's a welcome addition. I think CK, did need to improve. No offense to Tavish, but I think Tavish and Lampo were both struggling, and you see that there, the two players left, Lampo going to Dynasty, and unfortunately Tavish on the free agent list, so that's a good player to be on the free agent list, very capable, can help out if, any teams require a champ free agent, but I think, yeah, Weekend and Rex on that first slide of done deals is the most important. But we can't, Bale jumping from Complex to Solaris, that's a big move. I think it's in my opinion, it's a downgrade. No offense, I'm a big fan of Aqua. He's my old teammate, but he left into the free agent list, and Bale slips into the Solaris. I think to be sub to 50. But Bale's not a bad sub to have. But yeah, that's really all I can see. Well, Interstellar letting go of two players, top of their division, letting go of two players, that could be a mistake. We'll never know. The next slide will show us on.
Oh, well, there's Stealthling as well being brought into Complex, which I think is a power move by them.
Yeah. I think it was insane that he was on the free agent list at all. I was surprised when no team, especially Toxo, being on the same team as him last season for Velocity. I think it was crazy that they two didn't stick together, but they've somehow managed to intertwine again and get onto the same team. And yeah, Stelflin, it'll be good to see him back playing in BGCS.
For sure, and this isn't all that we've got. We've got plenty more done deals to come our way. We move on to the next slide.
And what do you find interesting in that one?
So for me, I mean, obviously you've got the Interstellar signups for Meow Pukis, who I'm going to admit I don't know. But Brazinga, especially for me, very interesting because we saw him play, I believe, in the last week, and he felt like a very consistent overall. Didn't really miss too much, kept his rotations tight, and brought a lot to the team. Of course, as a champ, you're gonna make mistakes. That's to be expected. But yeah, I think this is overall. I mean, without knowing the players from Interstellar beforehand, I think this is a fairly good move for them. Moving on, you've got Loopy going from Complex to Corinthians. That's an interesting move. I think Complex didn't work too well with Loopy, and that playstyle just didn't work out. You might find some game time on Corinthians, although they've been doing well as it is, so I don't know whether they really needed to make that change. But we'll see what he can bring. I think, you know, he's got the ability to make the impact. Probably the most standing out one here has got to be JWBS going from Resurrection to Team Miracle. On paper seems like a fairly lateral move, but Resurrection going from winning 2 then to losing 2 onto Miracle. Miracle's looking very scary now. Very mechanical, very fast. Whereas Resurrection losing that speed, losing that mechanics, looking less and less good for them. I think he's jumped ship at the right time. You know, like we touched on with the previous week, I think Resurrection have lost their spirit in some sort of way, and JWBS, maybe knowing that he was going to go to Team Miracle beforehand, was probably part of that. You know, a few other Fenrir being dropped by Complex, Iclipse being dropped by Corinthians.
Well, those two, Fenrir didn't get dropped. He had to, and Bags had to step away due to, personal issues.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. You can't stop that from happening. That's always going to be a thing, and real life does take priority over Rocket League as much as we try to ignore that fact. Yeah, we've got a few other transfers. You know, you've got RZ Master going to CK, and Sharky going to Broken Esports. So yeah, overall, a sort of JWBS being the standout, but other than that, fairly standard exchanges, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's good to see Sharky back. You know, former Team Atlantis player, really improved a lot during Season 2. So yeah, it'll be interesting and good to see how he picks up and plays alongside, you know, my good friend and teammate Nad, although he's no longer my teammate at the moment, but he'll always be my teammate.
In spirit.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be. I'm looking forward. I was always a fan of Sharky, and he really did improve a lot during Season 2. You know, helped his Team Atlantis. I'm sure they got to the, the later stages of the BGKC. So yeah, it'll be good to see him back. But yeah, that will lead us on to transfer slide 3.
Yeah, and for this one, you know, you've got a lot of Complex on there. You've got a lot of F5 on there. These two teams went through a sort of reformation after going down 1-3 in the first 4 weeks. I think that sort of thing is to be expected. For Fearless 5, you got SWAT Serg, who I'm not entirely too sure about
I think it's
coming
meant to
in.
be SWAT Sergeant.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not entirely too sure who that is or how he plays. You got Daimo, who we've seen play a couple times, I believe. Fairly consistent, good at, you know, getting the ball in the net is the goal that we go for. Yeah, I'm a fan of Daimo coming in. And you've got Jerk, who that is quite the power move, to be honest. Coming in for Rex, I expect Jerk to be playing a lot of the games. He's a very very fast player, peaked 1765, I believe. So yeah, I think F5 much improved. We look to complex next. You've got CXT or Cat. I don't know a whole lot about this player. Apparently he's good.
Yeah,
So
that's all I've heard as well.
yeah. You got Shizney, who's a returning player. Who did he play for last
Oh yeah.
season?
I've got an update. The CXT is Merry Nightmare, who was from Team
Oh,
Dynasty. And he is very
yeah.
good. He got an incredible save, I remember.
GeForce.
He got an incredible save in game week 2 or 3, I think it was. And he's a very good defensive player, from what I
Mm,
remember. But that was just
yeah.
a wee update on who that player was.
Yeah. And you've got Shizney, who played for GeForce's chats reminded me. Um, from what I remembered, he's sort of very sort of mechanically sound player. Not particularly fast, but just sort of fell out of love with the game at the end of season 2, or well, halfway through to the end of season 2. Dropped out, and I'm glad he's come back. To be honest, moving on to another player that's come back is Double V, who I believe was on Velocity at the start of the season, but got dropped. Which, you know, it happens. Again, welcoming him back. I'm glad to see him. I don't know who's going to be main. I'm guessing it's going to be Kat and Shizney, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. It could be any three of them. I think all three are as equally as good and as competent as each other. I think it will come down to personal on what one wants, who wants it more.
Mm.
But yeah, and also a player, Melty Crispy, brand new to the league from RSC. I know him pretty well. Played a few scrims in RSC against him. He is a very mechanical and fast player, and he is the replacement that I spoke about earlier for Resurrection that could really replace JW in a big way. So it's not doom and gloom for Resurrection as of yet.
Yeah, well, I'm expecting huge things from him now that you've talked him up. Uh, I mean, we've got Zed Faix being dropped from Complex. We haven't heard from him at all on that team. We haven't seen him play, so not a whole lot to comment on there.
And here's a wee bit inside scoop. His team didn't know he was even on the team. That's the truth. Like, I think it was Bale brought him in and told no one that he was there. So unfortunately, that's who they choose to cut. Because they had the choice of the 4 players that you see on screen there: Cat, Shizney, Double V, and Fakes. And yeah, he was never kicked, Loopy. But yeah, so he unfortunately didn't make the cut. But yeah, I think all transfers have been good. I don't think there's been any. I think the only questionable one, in my opinion, is Aqua out and Bale in.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one that you can really be seen as a downgrade.
We've got a Burud as well, who we've seen play once. I can't remember who he played for, but from what I remember of him, he seemed like a fairly decent player, not a whole lot. He's not particularly mechanical. He's not like particularly rotationally inclined. I just think he's an all-rounder player for the champ category. So yeah, I mean that's going to sum us up for all of the transfers. That's our little roster mania that went on there.
I actually want to give a wee bit of players that aren't in there that were kind of made before transfer mania happened, and that was for Team Dynasty, because obviously they got completely rebuilt beforehand. So Team Dynasty now is a roster of Azza, who we know as Aaron. Lampo we seen on that transfer. He moved from CK to them, but then they've also got Kieran, who we've seen many times fill in. The FA specialist is no longer. He's found himself a home. Someone called Alex Faria and Exceed, I think is how it's pronounced. That's the new Team Dynasty team. So it'll be good to see what they can do together as a team. But
We've seen Alex play in the previous week, I believe. I mean, they got 3-0, so not a whole lot was brought to the table there, I guess. But I think they were against a decent team, so maybe after a couple of weeks of meshing together, they can sort of bring themselves up and win some games. But yeah, I think that does us for the transfer window. It was, again, that was a test. That was to see how things go. I think it went well.
and there still
a little
is
stressful, but
there still is a whole day. So you never know. If any team's feeling a last minute change, you've still got one day and about 3 hours. So
yeah, not over yet, but that is us caught up on every transfer that has happened as of so far. We move into our next category of what we're talking about is our predictions. And Carl, I'll let you start this one off.
Well, I'm going to start this off with, we'll go through Ballbusters first, I think. And we have Resurrection versus Fearless 5, which is what I think that could be a very interesting and intriguing game. Two teams that have made changes coming up against each other. Fearless 5, near enough a brand new team. In Resurrection, looking to see how Melty Crispy will fit in. It's hard. I think Tornado is going to be playing most of the games, which is, I don't know much about Yerk or Jerk.
Very good player. Very good player.
I've just been told that he is a very good player, and I'm a fan of Tornado, but, if you've peaked high 1700, then I don't think Tornado's been near there, so I think I'm going to go 3-1, 3-2 to Resurrection. I think the addition of Melty Crispy will really, if they can gel together quick, or if they can get some scrims in prior, would be good. But yeah, Hamish, Crispy or Lewis and Melty Crispy, I think they can get the job done and go 3-2. I think the pressure that Resurrection play with will be enough to break down a team that's brand new together. I think just that pressure alone will be enough to win them the game. So I'm going 3-2 Resurrection. What about your own thought?
Oh, you do all of yours and then I'll do all of mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll go on to Team Miracle versus. Sorry, are you writing these down?
I can do.
Because you wanted to keep track, didn't you?
I can do. Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, we're going on to Team Miracle versus Team Lotus. Now, I like Eclipse, I like Team Lotus, but I just don't see them having anything to stop me, Team Miracle, and especially if Kanasic plays. I think the speed of Kanasic is incredible. I think he's the fastest player I've ever played against in BGCS. He makes your life difficult as a champ. He gives you no time. Feels like he has all the time in the world against you. And even with and if Hexos plays, because I know that a couple of the players on Team Miracle, they struggle to adapt playing with someone so fast as Kanasic. So even if Hexos plays, Hexos is a quality player. I think they'll have enough to get past Team Lotus. However, if Team Lotus can show up and play the passing plays that they played last season, and play as quick as possible, I could definitely see them snatching a game, maybe even two. But I'm going to go 3-1 to Team Miracle. I think their speed and their precision alone will win the game. And then on to Corinthians versus the Unseen. I think the Unseen are a very strong team. Of course, I'm going to say that. But also, I think Corinthians are a surprisingly strong team. I don't think people expected this from them. I think the pickup of Lupe is a good pickup, but it's whether he can fit in to the play style and adapt quick enough against, the undefeated Unseen. But I think we win that. I think we win that 3-2 though. I'm going to be reserved. As much as I want to be confident and win my chest say 3-0, I think it'll be 3-2 to the Unseen. I think our pressure, our defensive rotations are normally spot on. We don't double commit very often, which is quite rare, considering champs are known for double committing. But I think me and Panic do a good job of making them very minimal. And yeah, I think 3-2 to the Unseen.
No ego, Kyle.
I've never got an ego. That's the thing with me. I'm not an ego man. I've got the least ego. And then on to Complex versus Team. Yeah, yes. No ego whatsoever. You don't know how to spell ego. But that goes on to Complex versus Team, which I think is, I think it's a tough one. But I think Team are, if Panic, if Cryptic, English please, if Cryptic and Aspect can mesh together a bit better than what they did against ourselves, and if Dwarf keeps improving mechanically and can just start to maybe find some good passes to Aspect, I think Team will be able to win this 3-1. Maybe I want to go 3-2 because a lot of Team games go 3-2. But I think they'll break that this game, and I think 3-1 to Complex. I think Complex are, three brand new players that are going to be playing together, and it's not the time, playing against a team of the calibre of Team. It's not the best time to be gelling and meshing together. So I think it'll be 3-1 to Team. Do you want to do the Ball Busters one? Because my throat needs a wee rest, mate.
Okay, yeah, I can go through that. Yeah, so I'm gonna agree with a lot of what you said, but I do have differences, which is what we like to see.
Yes.
So for Resurrection versus Fearless, I'm gonna go with Fearless. I I really like their team now, and although they do have to gel and mesh, they've had time. Um, Jerk is. I mean, if he's playing, I think if Jerk's playing, I think Fearless take it somewhat easily. I'm not too sure about the chance other than Dymo, but if Jerk, Dymo, and either of the other two champs play, I think it's got to be like a 3-1 to Fearless. If Tornado's playing, then I'm guessing it's closer. I still think I'd have Fearless for that, to be honest. I'll go with my gut and say 3-2. But I'm not too sure with this one. It's kind of stumped me, if I'm being completely honest. Sorry, I'm just writing in the scores on my notepad. So we've got Miracle Lotus. Yeah, I don't see this going any other way than Miracle. I think Lotus would have to come up with something special. And whilst Eclipse is capable of that, he's not been playing well recently. So I'm gonna give Miracle the 3-0. Purely based on that and their form going into it. If Miracle decide to play Hexos, I think it could be a lot closer, maybe even Lotus take that. But seeing as Hexos has already played, I don't see any reason for them to not play Knasig. Yeah. Now, going into probably the most interesting matchup for me is Corinthians versus the Unseen. And Hexos can't play. Okay, so that's an interesting bit of information there. So it is Knasig playing. Yeah. Corinthians versus Unseen. I know Carl, am I at leisure to say who's playing?
Yeah, if you want.
Yeah, okay. So I know for the Unseen that Ark is going to be playing. And I also know that Carl and Panic haven't played with Ark. So there's no chemistry between the champs and the GC going into this, whereas Corinthians have built up, unless they play with Loopy, they've built up a strong amount of chemistry with each other, and they play well as a team. If they can get some counter attacks going, some early challenges in, I think they could overwhelm Unseen and catch them off guard. I think this is the upset of the season. I think Corinthians take it 3-2. Which, Jeffo's blood is going to boil to this one, but so be it.
You always know how to get under Jeffo's skin.
Just say he's not going to win, then he's fuming.
It sounds like someone else I know.
Oh, but we don't talk about that. Now, for my match, Complex versus Team, and I'm not going to take this lightly because I know how good Stealthling is, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be playing. So I think it's going to be a close match, and I know my tendencies with going 3-2. And I'm just going to say this, I'm not playing. I'll probably be coaching. Serenity's going to be playing just because I don't fancy it. And he wants to play, so so Serenity's going to be playing.
Scared of Stealthling.
Stealthling. I beat him last season. I'll beat him this season. I'm just giving Serenity the chance to do it. So yeah, I do think we take it, but I think it's much closer than it would have been if they didn't have Stealthling. I'm gonna give us the 3-2 because we love a 3-2. We love it. I'll hand it back over to you for the wall thrusters.
Yep, and so on to the wall thrusters. In my opinion, the weakest of the two divisions, but that's for another debate.
I don't think it's a debate at this point.
We have got. We're starting off with Flame Esports versus Clinical Masterminds, which is an interesting game. Clinical coming off their first defeat in a long time, and that even going back into season 2, because I don't think did they lose a game. I think they lost to
They lost to Velocity, yeah.
but that
That was it.
quite early on. I think that was.
No, it was later on.
Was it later on? But anyway,
Yeah.
they've only lost one game in 10 plus games. That's well, this is the second game they've lost now. So it'll be good to see how they can bounce back from that defeat. Flame Esports, if they can show up and actually play, I think they've got a chance. I'm going to go bold and say 3-2 to Flame Esports. I think Clinical's heads could be down. Trixa might not play at his best again. Jonah, if Jonah might be Jonah, and Rectic, he is slumping at the moment. He keeps saying that he thinks he's out the slump, but he's been saying that for 4 days now to me. So I don't know how long it takes to come out of a slump, but I'm going to just go bold. I know it's against the odds prediction, but yeah, 3-2 Flame. I'm going to go on, and the next game is CK Esports versus Team Dynasty. I think this is a big chance for CK Esports to get confidence high straight away. Rex and Feelings coming in to play alongside either RZ Master, a new player to the league, or Killian. I think it doesn't matter what one of them plays. I think either team's strong. I think Killian is slightly better considering, he used to be classed as a GC, but really shouldn't have been there in the first place. But yeah, I think, I don't think there's much to speak about this. CK win at 3-0 quite easily unless, Team Dynasty can really, bond together. There's a big storyline that's Lampo playing against his former team. If Lampo comes in and plays the way I know Lampo can play, that's their only chance. But I think CK, I think they win it 3-0. But there is a small chance there for Team Dynasty. Then next, I'm really struggling to read these ones. Interstellar Esports versus Ophiessa Esports. That's right, eh? Yeah.
Yeah.
They are, and by the way, sorry to say, but the CK Esports and Team Dynasty game you can see live tomorrow, Monday evening at 7 p.m. And the same with the Unseen versus Corinthians. You can see that on Tuesday at 8 p.m. But yeah, Interstellar versus Ophiusa, this is going to be a tough game, I think. I think this could go either way, but I'm going to stick with Interstellar to contain the unbeaten run that they're on. Even though they've made 2 changes, that I felt were not needed, but they know the team better than what I do. I'm thinking, Interstellar will win 3-1, I want to say. Ophiessa, they're getting better every week. They are, the first week they didn't look good at all, and then they're slowly gelling together and starting to play as a team that, they were bigged up highly before the season started. But 3-1, I'm going to say Interstellar to take that. And then that moves us on to the last game, which is Solaris Esports versus Broken Esports. This is a game of if, buts and maybes, I think, of who plays what and where. If Bale plays over 50, I think that gives Broken a good chance. And also if, Seamat or Sharky plays, I think they're very equal, but it's whether Nad, I know he said about maybe being sub, but I really think Nad should be a main focus of that Broken team. Mainly because I know him, I don't know the other 2 players. But I know that Nad's playstyle, I think, would suit see Matt. I'm gonna go Broken to get their first win. Hell, even their first game on the board. I'm going to say 3-2 Broken Esports, and that is on to you.
That is wild. I definitely was not keeping track of that. My bad.
So
I'll just go back into VOD. It's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, for me, Flame Esports Clinical, I think even with Reptic slumping, I I can't vote against Clinical in this. I don't think Flame have given me a reason to believe in them the way that Clinical have been emphatic for so long, other than Interstellar. I'm gonna have to go 3-1 to Clinical. They look a bit shaky, especially with Tricks and Reptic maybe not having the best time at the moment. But maybe that opens up space for Brooksy to come in instead of Trickser one day.
see me. Sorry, put my wee
That's
nose in
fine.
here. I think it would be Brooksy over Jonah would be my suggestion. I have said that to the lads as well. That I think that should their best team is swapping Jonah and Brooksy.
Maybe, but if you've got Trickser who's slumping, and we saw him play well, not last week, but the week before, and he wasn't terrible. He just wasn't hitting the same things that he was previously. There were so many missed nets, so many missed chances, all because they weren't playing simple Rocket League, because they rely on their mechanics, maybe a little bit too much at times. I think maybe that got in their head a bit too much in the game. Maybe a weak reset might have done the job. Who knows? I've got Clinical 3-1. I think if Musa plays, it's going to be closer. But Minty, I don't think did the right job last time he played. So yeah, Clinical emphatic win on that one. CK Esports Dynasty 3-0 CK. I'm not a whole lot more to say on that because you pretty much summed it up yourself. I think especially with Rex and Feelings, it's going to be even more decisive. Even with the changes to Dynasty, I'm not convinced at all. That's going to be it for that one. So Interstellar versus Orpheus. I agree. This is an interesting one. I think probably the closest in this conference. So Interstellar, they don't have the outstanding GC like other teams do, but they play so well together. They've got the most chemistry in the entire league, in my opinion. And that's why they were able to beat Clinical Masterminds. They just capitalize on every mistake without being so mechanical, so sort of pressurizing themselves. I think that's going to play into their hand against Orpheus. I think Orpheus have shown quite a few holes. I don't think they have performed extremely well, and I think the wins that they have got have been against weaker teams. So I think they will struggle against Interstellar. That being said, I'm probably going to give it to Interstellar for a 3-1. Yeah, I said it'd be closer, but it seems scoreline as Clinical and Flame. So that's just what my gut's telling me, though. On to
gut
the
is
last
usually
one.
right.
Oh, sorry, what?
I was just saying the gut is usually right.
Wow, yeah. Although it's my gut, so who knows? Solaris versus Broken. With either of, I think you summed this one up as well. To be honest, it's a bunch of if this player plays, then this result. If this player plays, then that result. I think this is actually the closest one. You say Broken, I'll say Solaris. I don't think they've changed as much. And I think especially if 50 plays, they take it in a 3-2 fashion. I think CMAT with the right teammates can be dangerous, which is why I'm making it so close. He was the only reason why there was any chances for them in the first place on that broken esports team. So yeah, I've got Solaris at a 3-2 there, and that sums us up for predictions. On to the last section, we've got a returning sort of beloved's favourite from last season in Team of the Week. I know so many people have been missing this.
Yeah, I've been missing it. I do.
Oh, you've got to.
I loved it. I'm just going to go through the done deals. I've not got a graphic for this
Okay.
part, so I'm just going to cycle through the done deals while we speak,
Okay.
if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
But yeah,
Um.
returning, I loved Team of the Week. You know, unfortunate it works better with more people than just the two of us.
Yeah.
But we'll do our best to try and form together some form of Team of the Week. You know, it'll probably just be an unofficial one this week, just mine and Dwarf's opinion. But when we get back to full strength, it'll become official again, and there'll be graphics made for it, and you know how it was last season.
Yeah, I mean, with a lot of things changing in sort of the BG team and the stream and all of that, you've got to allow for some sort of mishaps and all of that. Please bear with us. We're getting things sorted as fast as possible. Trust us, we're really working on it. But yeah, I guess we can sort of debate it a little bit and sort of see whether we can come to a decision between us rather than go on votes.
Yeah.
Because it was quite a while ago that a lot of the games were, almost 2 weeks ago. Our game was. So yeah, I mean, if you want to start us off, if you've got any idea, or shall I sort of take a lead?
If you take a lead, because yeah,
Okay.
I'm trying to go through my memory banks.
So if we will start off with the champs and end with the GC.
Yeah.
So for the champs, the ones that are sticking out for me, I mean, I think you've got to look for the upsets.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's not on the team anymore for Resurrection, but no, wait, no, I've got that wrong. It was, who was it? Fearless 5, that was the one. He's not in the team for Fearless 5 anymore, but Weekend/Feelings, I think he was an integral part in why Fearless 5 beat Corinthians. I think he's the only reason why Fearless 5 have a chance of still making top 4 playoffs. I think he's got to be the first champ for me, just based off playstyle, let alone stats. I'm sure he's done fantastically in stats as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Bale. Bale. It's because I read Bale as I was going to say that. But yeah, weekend feelings. Yeah, definitely. I would happily just put him in now. I remember he was influential. I think he was the only influential champ this season in that week. Like he really, without him being there, Fearless 5 would have struggled. And I think I'd be happy to just lock him in the first one.
Yeah.
Because I can't think anyone better.
Yeah, I'm very much happy with that one. I think you're gonna struggle to find any other player on at least on the same level as him. I think he's played better than a lot of GCs have. So yeah, I guess we lock that in for the first champ. For the second champ, I don't know whether you've restored your memory bank at all, or
Well, I would, a player that I think has to be in this discussion is Panic. I think the
yeah,
way he shut yous down, he put in a defensive work in that game.
in one game he got 6 saves.
Yeah, he put in a defensive shift, and I think he's a person that should definitely be put forward. And also KMW, for
Yeah,
Interstellar, he played like insane and was, helped get an upset. I love Panic to bits, but I would say KMW would be a more likely, just because of the upset behind the game. I think most people expected the Unseen to win, but it wasn't like guaranteed win. Where I think a lot of people thought it's a guaranteed win for Clinical against Interstellar. I don't know.
you
I'm
can
looking.
also look at it though in the fact that people thought the Unseen were going to do a lot better against Team.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know whether it's you guys weren't playing as well as a team, or whether, because I think Panic, he forced the issue more than anything. I don't think he got stats defensively, but I don't think he scored a whole lot. At least not from my memory.
No.
Um. So yeah, I think I get your point with Panic. I think he's definitely a contender. One sort of team and player that I'd like to bring up is Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
I think he plays amazingly for a champ. Um, he's super, super, super aggressive, but that's good. That's what you want from a champ. You can just sort of launch the ball at him and he'll do work. Um, I think
That's yeah.
he doesn't go understated, and
Yeah, and I even think Gravesy can be thrown there as
yeah,
well. I have a lot of faith in Gravesy as well, and I didn't really see the Miracle versus Resurrection game, so I can't even go into my memory for that. But Gravesy's normally solid defensively and attacking. He's an all round player. Um, the second champ's going to be very hard.
yeah. You've got a few people in there. I mean, it sounds harsh, but I don't think I'm going to put any of my champs up because I just think, I mean, Panic alone played incredibly. If Panic wasn't playing the way that he was, I reckon we beat you, and I don't think it's like that close.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, that like that. And on defense, he certainly was. And I started off like a house on fire in that game one, and then didn't wasn't able to keep up that pace. And Panic really pulled me out. I want to say a word that I'm not allowed to say, but yeah, really helped me out in that game. I think
He does drag you up, I feel. He is
yeah.
that type of player.
Oh yeah, yeah. He definitely did. Especially mentally. Like I'm good mentally, but when it does start to have that wee bit of a wobble, Panic is probably the best person that I've ever came across to quickly just snap that out of you. Um, Jeffo is great for mental help. I have to say, no.
That's what he
Me,
was saying to me as well, to be fair.
yeah,
He was
me.
saying that he had to do a lot of the help mentally in our series.
Um, no, Jeffo just done well to keep his own mentals up. And that's honest. Jeffo's like he's lucky that he's got me and Panic on his team. We really do help keep him up. But in that game, he really kept his own up. At no point did his head go down. Yeah, he's good to help you play because he's good.
Yeah,
um,
he just
but
takes the ball off you and scores. It's great.
Right. But
Or
yeah,
not if it's twos with me, but
I think for the second champ to join weekend, I think it's hard between Charlie, KMW, and Panic, in my opinion.
yeah.
Me, I
Could
would.
put it up for a vote in chat, to be fair.
We could do that. It's up to you. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just going to go in circles if we don't.
Yeah. Put a one in
Um,
chat if you want to vote.
There's going to be like 3-1s. It's going to be great.
Loopy, I'll answer that quickly then, because I did put it in chat, but I don't think you see it. Yeah, one game. The subs have to play one game.
And that's also if they get traded in, right?
Yeah, that's also if they've been traded in. I don't. I'll need to confirm it, but I'm pretty sure that they don't, carry over. So like JW going to Miracle will have to play one game for Miracle.
I'm sure he's going to play anyway.
Yeah.
He's a class player, but
Yeah.
yeah, just for an example.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
So Loopy, you will have to play one game for Corinthians. But yeah, no one's really put a one in chat to vote.
no one's.
I think we can come to a reasonable agree. Let's start instead of thinking who we should. Let's try and cut people out. I'd probably cut out Charlie. Just because I think, they were expected to beat Resurrection, in my opinion, or I expected them to. Maybe not as emphatically as 3-0, but I expected them to get a win.
I guess because of the circumstances with the teams, I guess they were expected to. But I think Resurrection coming in as hot as they did in week 1, I think if they just stayed together and kept their mentals up, they could have won the league.
Yeah.
Let alone just week 1, week 2. Which is why I'm rating Resurrection so highly.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess they did deteriorate quite quickly.
So for me, I think it's between Panic and KMW. Unless you think Charlie should be above either of them.
The thing about KMW, I think individually, I think for Interstellar, it's the sum of the parts are greater than. I think it's not just one player. It has to be all of them.
Yeah.
Which is what sways me away from KMW. I get your point with Charlie. I think they were the favourites. But I think Charlie had more individual input into the match than KMW did.
Right.
But
what
so
about
yeah.
Charlie towards Panic then?
Oh, Panic had more input, 100%.
So are you saying...
I think Panic was the reason why you beat me.
Yeah, are you saying Panic then?
I'm saying Panic.
Well, I'm happy to go with Panic. That makes my job easy, because I didn't want... I thought KMW slightly just because they beat Clinical, but my next one was Panic. And if you're that strong that Charlie goes above KMW and Panic goes
I
above
wasn't
Charlie,
that strong, but it was
No,
I had a
well, yeah.
reason for it.
Yeah, so I'm happy to go with Panic, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm not, I've showed I've not got ego. I'm not just saying that for he's my own teammate, but yeah, he really did help us get the win. So I think it's only fair that Panic then. If you because it's hard when you're in a game like playing with him. You see a lot more of what he's doing than I do, because normally like you'll be behind me a lot of the game.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the time he's in front of you. And you can see, especially when you're on the attack, you can see his saves.
You also don't see the demos.
Yeah.
Which happened a lot.
Yeah.
And that was a struggle keeping Mintles up because of that.
So yeah, so there goes your two champs. We have Panic and Mr. Weekend, not the singer, but the Rocket League player.
I think that's fair for the champs, to be honest. I don't think you're going to find many champs that are as impactful as them two were
This week, yeah, or
this week. Yeah.
last game week.
So I guess that moves us on to GC, which is obviously the most important part. Um,
Yeah, and
I just
toughest part.
well, because there's only one spot, there's more debate, right?
Yes.
Because from what I've seen, it's the teams with the better champs that are doing better, not the teams with the better GCs.
Yeah.
So that makes it even harder if all the GCs aren't performing as well. At least for me, I I'd like to put forward Kanasig. I think he's been amazingly, like he's played amazingly for all of the weeks that he's played in. I don't think he's put a foot wrong. To be honest, at least not too big of a foot wrong. Whereas I think every other GC player has had wobbles.
Yeah.
I include myself on that, especially. But yeah,
Well, this is going to be easier than I thought then.
oh,
Because that was my only option that I had was Kanasig. Especially last week or last game week for Miracle, I thought he was insane. Some of the just the control of the ball that he has and the speed that he does it in, it really does boggle my brain. And
I've got to play him yet.
yeah, I'm telling you, Dwarf, he is very tough. He
That's
is
just what I did to Jeffo.
a very good player. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
I mean,
Because
I've got a
can't
few
think.
honourable mentions, but I don't think anyone from Wool Thrusters is anywhere close to this conversation because I think the teams at the top, other than Clinical, they work as a team, and the teams at the bottom, obviously, the GC would have to have some sort of input to be in this conversation. So I think it is a Ballbusters conference conversation. I'd like to chuck in Jeffo and I'd like to chuck in Lewis, despite the loss. Purely because Jeffo, I had to dedicate like 75% of my time to shutting him down
Yeah,
just to come close.
yeah,
If that doesn't speak to a player's level, then I don't know what does.
yeah. I rate Jeffo very highly, but it's the same. It's the same problem that we had last week. Last season with Reptic. It's hard for players of that caliber to like. We all know what Jeffo can do, and I think he didn't have the best of games against you, and he didn't feel that way either. You know, that was my hesitation of picking Jeffo, and that Panic sort of outshined him
Yeah,
last week as well. You know, which if your champ's outshining you, I don't think you deserve team of the week as the GC. So that was my argument against Jeffo, even though he still played incredibly well. It's just he can do so much better. And your other one, yeah, Lewis for Resurrection, very solid player, and he's only getting better as well. But I just don't think he played as well as Kanasig. But yeah, they're very good honourable mentions. The only other one I would say is, I think, was it Rex or Tornado? I can't remember what one
it
it
was
played.
Tornado playing.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. I remember how well the GC played for Fearless 5, but I couldn't remember what one it is because they always changing.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
Tornado is another shout. To get the win over a very hard Resurrection side Not Resurrection. Who was it they beat again?
Corinthians.
Corinthians. It's because I was reading the Resurrection there. But yeah, I would say Tornado is another good honourable mention.
Yeah, I mean, unless anyone in chat has any suggestions, I think that's going to be us done with Team of the Week. I'm glad it's back. We've got Knatic as the GC, Weekend and Panic as the champs for the Team of the Week. If you agree, cool. If you don't agree, let us know in the Discord, on YouTube, in the chat, anything like that.
Yep.
All of the engagement.
Indeed. You should
So-
be a YouTuber.
Well, maybe one day. And that's going to be us pretty much sorted for this BGCS show. I hope you've all enjoyed. I know there's only two of us, but maybe you could put up with two oldies every once in a while.
Yep.
But yeah, what do we say about Bale?
We said, well, watch it back on YouTube tomorrow when it's posted,
Yep.
or the VOD, which will be posted at some point soon after the stream has finished.
Yeah, gotta wait, gotta give us the watch time. Or else.
Yep. But yeah, Charlie, the champs were Panic and Weekend.
I'm surprised at how on point we were with that, by the way. Yeah, crazy.
But
All right.
yeah, one thing I want to add before you remember to get your games scheduled before 23:59 BST tomorrow. That is Sunday. Remember to get your games scheduled before then. There's still a lot of games needing to be scheduled. And 2, remember there is still the same time length for the transfer. So if you need any late minute transfers, now's the time to get them done. And without that, I will say good night and pass you on to Dwarf to run us out.
And that's going to be end of the show. Make sure to check out the YouTube, as Carl said, join the Discord, interact with the community, sign up if you haven't already, and we'll see you guys next time.